Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and professional witch, and today I'm talking about numerology. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. I just published it, but I am offering a 12-week Tarot for Transformation live course starting in the late September. Deep dive 12 of the major arcana cards with me as we embody archetypes, learn how to transform ourselves through the tarot. And if you sign up by September 12th, get 25% off with code EARLYBIRD. Check out the full details now. The link will be in the show notes. If you're interested in crafting your own tarot cards, you can go ahead and get my full workshop with the recording, my step-by-step method, examples of the tarot cards I've created, journaling questions, and a PDF to walk you all through it for just $33. I just updated my Patreon benefits to be bigger and better than ever, so if you want an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast, you can join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family at the Lovers level. If you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can get a one-time individual 5-card reading in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level on the Patreon. I recently did the new moon in Virgo, a collective tarot reading. The new moon transits into Virgo on August 22nd, 2025, around 11 p.m. Pacific time. So if you didn't get to watch the live, you can go ahead and watch the replay now to see what is upcoming with this new moon. And if you're local to the greater Puget Sound area, you can join us at our next Let's Talk Tarot meetup group event. If you're interested in joining my newsletter list, I send out a weekly newsletter that always has the most up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and more. Once you sign up for that, you will get my free PDF with a 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you, my lovely listeners, at the beginning of the year. And if you don't already know, I am a sex and relationships therapist and coach, seeing clients virtually all over from my home office. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. If you'd like to work with someone that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now to start your journey. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleSaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. So today, welcome to season 13, where I'm talking all about divination in the Harry Potter series. And today I'm talking about numerology, or as known in the Harry Potter series, arithmancy. So a background on me and the Harry Potter series and why I'm doing a whole season about it. So I grew up reading all the books from elementary school on. We read them as a family. My parents read them to us when we were young, and we used to listen to the audiobooks whenever we went on road trips. So I've spent a lot of time reading and listening to them, and I still listen to them, honestly, to fall asleep. I am in Slytherin House. My favorite book is Half-Blood Prince. My favorite movie is Goblet of Fire. I've been a MuggleCast podcast listener since 2006. The podcast started in 2005, so they just celebrated their 20th year anniversary podcasting. Congratulations to them. And my favorite numbers, since we're talking about numerology today, are 6 and 13. Also 3s, which again, like, kind of go with 6 and 13. And we know that J.K. Rowling likes 7s and 12s. There's so many. 7 is seen as the most magical number in the series. Voldemort makes 7 Horcruxes, at least intentionally, and 12s are also very common. There's a lot of references to 12 in the series, so we know that JKR likes associations with those numbers in the series. And I would say, like, in mainstream society, at least in Western culture, 7 is seen as a lucky number. And 13 is seen as unlucky. So that's just kind of interesting there. So I'll get into a definition and history of numerology. Then we'll talk about arithmancy and numerology in the Harry Potter series, and why they're sort of called a different thing. And then I'll get into tarot cards that I thought were associated, or that I see as associated sort of with the essence of numerology. And then I'll dive in and see what the cards have to say today, what message numerology has for us. So let's get into what is numerology. So numerology, and I'm reading this from numerology.com, is the study of numbers and their energetic influence on our lives. We see and interact with numbers every day, but numbers are symbols that carry energetic vibrations which impact humanity on a cosmic level. Every number's vibrations are unique, and therefore each affects us in a different way. Numerology can be used to find direction and meaning in your life. It is another form of divination or forecasting to see what kind of energy will influence you and perhaps others in the future. A lot of people might use numerology as a resource when naming things like a child or a business. The numbers present in a name impact overall personality and potential, and some people put great intention into choosing names or certain times to release things that bring desired results. I'm recording this August 22nd, 2025. And Taylor Swift has been putting out a couple of things as she talks about releasing her Taylor Swift 12 album. So, we know she likes the number 13, but she named numerology in her first, in her podcast debut on the New Heights podcast, that she loves numerology, which I would say for most Taylor Swift fans, most Swifties, we're aware. She loves to play with numbers and hide them as clues or Easter eggs. She's done 3 announcements now as I'm recording this of countdowns, and the recent ones have started to count down from 5 hours to 4 hours to 3 hours. So we probably have 2 upcoming ones left that are going to be countdowns. And again, she loves, she's a great current example in pop culture, someone that loves numerology, and she actually did name it on the podcast as well. So even letters and names correspond to different numbers, right? Your birthday is made up of numbers. The numbers in your age or address, your phone number, your paycheck, everything impacts you. And this is the idea behind numerology. So the foundation of numerology is on the single digits 1 through 9, because they're the basis of every other number. Again, if we remember, 0 is technically not a number because it is devoid of numbers. So 0 is not usually counted in that. And any number can be reduced to a single digit by adding up individual numbers. So the number 17 would be 8 because you have 1 plus 7 is 8. The number 231 would be 6 because it'd be 2 plus 3 plus 1 equals 6. And so by studying these different meanings and each digit, a numerologist can read the larger meanings of any other number. And so if we just sort of briefly go through, and I did talk a bit about when I was doing I believe the Major Arcana season, I talked about the numbers associated with each card, because again, the Major Arcana, similarly to our digits that we use in Western culture, a base 10 system where you go 1 through 9, and then 10 is sort of starting over, sort of, that I talked about. So the Major Arcana, similarly, it starts with 0, and then we have 1, which is the Magician, and then it goes through 21. And so there are technically 22 cards in the Major Arcana, but the Fool is considered 0. So again, it's almost like void, or the full circle, or the beginning, but you haven't really started. So generally, 1's independent, goal-oriented, innovative. 2's intuitive, unifying, influential, right? Think of twin things. 3's communicative, artistic, charming. 4, practical, loyal, service-oriented. 5, curious, adaptable, social. 6, supportive, protective, romantic. 7, spiritual, curious, and analytical. 8, ambitious, karmic, and enduring. Again, we think of 8 as like an infinity symbol, right? Enduring. 9, awakening, tolerant, and supportive. And then again, all other numbers can be sort of boiled down to 1 through 9. I also think of Enneagram, all of the different traits, I guess, are divided between 1 and 9. And as I read that list, I'm like, oh, those are very similar. So I imagine the person that came up with the Enneagram also is interested in numbers and numerology, because there's a lot of similarities there. All right, so again, like double digits so you have single digits, right, 1 through 9. Then there are double digit numbers, which is basically, it's like the same. So if you had like 1, 1, or like 11, 22, 33, or even like 111, 222, 333. Some people you might know like track the 1111 time of day. That's seen as like lucky or like wishful. Again, that's because of numerology. Like ones are about goals, or again, like manifestation. So people see the number 1111 on the clock, or as like a lucky manifesting time generally. And so when digits are doubled like that, they're seen as sort of like master numbers, or again, like just kind of like a different, or like twice as impactful, or that type of thing. There's also like numerology based off of your birth date and your name. I'm not going to get into that too much. There's something called a life path number and your birthday number that's in numerology. I guess your life path number is supposed to be your most important numerology number. It reveals the road you are on, and it's derived from your day, month, and year of birth. So let's see here. And again, numerology uses the Pythagorean method, which is a Western form of numerology based on the studies of the Greek philosopher Pythagoras. If you ever, remember Pythagorean theorem, comes from the same guy, based on the numbers 1 through 9 and the Latin alphabet of A through Z. There is also Chaldean numerology, originated in Babylonia, differs from Pythagorean method in big ways because Chaldean method is based on numbers 1 through 8. And again, like you can have a different kind of base number system. And so generally in Western world, we operate on a, I guess hours wise, we operate on a base 12. Like if we think of, 12-hour things, or 24 hours a day. But in a lot of ways, a base 10 system, it works a lot. It's a lot easier to do the math. And then there's also Kabbalah numerology. So based on the Hebrew alphabet, instead of taking a person's date of birth into account, they use the name. So you might also hear other systems of numerology like Kiro or Tamil. Every method is different from all the others, and they all have their own historical backgrounds. So if we think of the year of 2025, in numerology, 2025, right? If you think of adding all the numbers together, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 is 9. And 9 is about completion. Again, if we think of 1 through 9, it is the end of the system, right? Before you start over again. And so it also is this conclusion of a cycle before beginning fresh or anew. And I'm like, that sounds great. And again, in 2026, right, you add all those digits together, would be 10, and then 1 plus 0 from 10 is 1. So again, we kind of like start a circle over again. A 9 universal year. Also, again, I'm not going to get into that too much, but yeah, let me see if there's anything else from Wikipedia about numerology that I want to add. Oh, okay. So apparently before the 20th century, numerology was known as arithmancy. So perhaps this is why in the Harry Potter series, although it does happen in the 20th century when we are reading the books, or like the timeline in the books is in the 20th century, it is... So this is like part of that, like they're talking about the same thing. I didn't know that arithmancy in the Harry Potter series meant numerology until I looked it up later, because we have this quote from Hermione that she talks about that she doesn't like divination. It's way too subjective and everything. But then her favorite subject is arithmancy, which is numerology, which is divination. And I was like, girl, what? So I'm going to talk a bit more about that. But yeah, so numerology is the belief in an occult, divine, or mystical relationship between a number and events. It's also the study of the numerical value using the alphanumeric system and the letters and words and names. And like I said, it can be applied to a person's name, and that is considered onomancy. It's often associated with astrology and other divinatory arts. And it's basically number symbolism. So arithmancy derives from two Greek words, arithmos, meaning number, and manteia, meaning divination. So we have arithmanteia, basically like arithmos, manteia, some number divination. So I guess, again, when we think about, root words, arithmancy makes sense that you're studying the divination of numbers. And then the word arithmancy dates back to like 1570s, but the word numerology was not recorded in English before about 1907. So numerology, I guess, is our more modern naming of the system of studying numbers, or like through divinatory practices. Let's see here. If there's anything else I want to add. I guess there's also the idea of angel numbers, which is sort of, again, these like repeating digits like 111 or 444 or 333. And again, some of this is kind of based in numerology, in this like repeating digits. But it sounds like numerologists sort of differ as to like the strength of angel numbers, or like if that is like a thing even in numerology. Like I said, there's different systems of numerology from different historical people, basically. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to stop there for now. So let's talk about arithmancy or numerology in the Harry Potter series. So numerology is the magical discipline relating to numbers that appeared to be part of or similar to related to arithmancy as a method of divination. And so we hear about arithmancy. Again, there's a textbook for it that's called Numerology and Grammatica. There's also a Compendium de Numerologie et Arithmancy that looks like French. Let's see what else. Yeah, apparently Trelawney teaches numerology in her divination class, but says it's different from arithmancy. So that is very interesting. And then, but like I said, we have evidence in the book that Hermione, despite disliking divination, says arithmancy is her favorite subject. Harry gives her a copy of New Theory of Numerology for Christmas, I believe in their 5th year, that she was very excited about. What else? Yeah, so the relationship between numerology, arithmancy, and divination, like in the series, is confusing because, again, in the real world, numerology is the method of divination using numbers. It is synonymous with arithmancy. However, if this is the case, again, in the book series, then we're not, like, why does Hermione, who doesn't like divination, say that arithmancy is her favorite subject. Like, it could be that maybe like arithmancers and seers use the same word for different practices, or like maybe how the idea of like astrology and astronomy are different, right? One might be noting down where the stars are, and astrology, I would say, is more like meaning making of it, or like thinking. So like you could have the study of numbers, and then maybe numerology is like the meaning making of it, but it's sort of confusing even within the series. And like I said, in the book series, like Hermione occasionally mentions arithmancy, and it sounds like a math, right, related thing. You're like, yeah, that sounds mathy. But it wasn't until I looked up, like, what is arithmancy when talking about divination, that I was like, wait, we're talking about numerology? Fascinating. Yeah, so we even have Hermione say, if being good at divination means I have to pretend to see death omens in a lump of leaves, I'm not sure I'll be studying it much longer. That lesson was absolute rubbish compared to my arithmancy class. So again, interesting. And maybe this is like a teacher preference, or because numerology, perhaps, or arithmancy is, you have 9 numbers, it's a bit more clear, like the numbers mean these different things. They always do. Everything can be reduced down to these 9 numbers. Like, maybe that is more clear for Hermione and that's why she likes it. But this was like fascinating for me to discover and realize, because in real world, numerology is seen as, like, I would say, just as pseudoscience as other divinatory methods, and as astrology, as tarot, as crystal ball gazing, as all these other divinatory methods that we are talking about. So arithmancy in the book series, again, is like an elective subject. It's offered for third-year students. It says their homework includes writing essays that require the consultation of composition of complex numerical charts. And again, Hermione, we know, uses Numerology and Grammatica, the textbook, for the 3rd year. And then we know, again, later she gets this new theory of numerology book from Harry for Christmas, when, I believe, in the 5th book, because that's when they're visiting St. Mungo's. So fascinating. And also we know that Hermione, she says it's her favorite subject from the 3rd year on. She gets an outstanding, which is basically like A++, ordinary wizarding level. Like on her exam, she gets the highest level of score grade on the exam, and then she continues to study it as like through her newts, which are like the further levels of schooling at school later on. So like clearly she really likes arithmancy. But yeah, this is like fascinating to me that it's like we don't really know, is arithmancy like muggle math and like different than numerology in the series? Anyway, I'll stop ranting about that aspect, but because Hermione has so much contempt for divination. She says it's like so much guesswork, la la la, but then she like, again, proclaims arithmancy is her favorite subject. And so again, maybe arithmancy is this like more rigorous or mathematical approach to predicting the future, which like the more book-based, scientifically inclined Hermione would enjoy more, and maybe that's why she compares them as well. But fascinating to me that I guess we have like I'm looking in the arithmancy on the Harry Potter fandom.com wiki, and it says that Tom Riddle, so Voldemort, may have chosen arithmancy as an elective in his 3rd year at Hogwarts, since later he would be aware of 7 as the most powerful magical number. So again, like I said, we have J.K. Rowling, the author, right, writing using a lot of 7s and 12s, and then within the magical world, 7 like gets named as the most powerful magical number, and that's why Voldemort created 7 Horcruxes, because he was obsessed with the idea of having 7 of them, that nothing could beat that. So yeah, which again I would say is numerology. But anyway, let's get into the tarot cards that I talk about. So I'm pulling from the Citadel, a fantasy oracle deck by Fen Inkwright. So not traditional tarot, but oracle. And I pulled the Patron, which is about mentorship and finances. I pulled 3 cards here that just gave numerology vibes to me. I'm going to read a little bit about each one for you. It says the Patron indicates a period of mentorship is beginning for you. Either someone is due to enter your life, offering support and advice, or someone is looking to you for guidance. Whether it is you or someone else who is taking on the role of patron, focus your energy on this new union, as it will bring a period of stability and empowerment to both of you. And then the next one I pulled is the Catalyst, radical changes and taking control. And I kind of just went off the vibe of these cards. This one has, I believe, like some runes on it. The Patron has like a book and sort of like some sigil stuff on it. The Catalyst, okay, let's see here. The Catalyst says, life does not exist in a state of stasis, and meaningful development only comes with change. To resist is to resist growth. You must become the catalyst that shakes the very foundations of life. You are the hurricane that blows the cobwebs from the corners. You are the bolt of lightning that topples the tower. You may not know what form this change will take, but change has to happen. Through upheaval, chaos, and destruction, you will be able to start anew. And then finally, I pulled the Gambler, since we have like more numbers going on, which it says, so the Catalyst is radical changes and taking control, and the Gambler is about loss and risks. Come on. Okay. It says, whatever obstacle you keep encountering, doing the same thing over again clearly isn't working. Stop gambling on the hope that things will change, and instead change your habits or your approach if you want to make any progress at all. All right, and then I am going to pull a card. So diving in to see what the cards have to say today. What message does numerology have for us today? So I'm going to be pulling from the Herb Crafters Tarot deck, written by Letitia Guthrie and artwork by Joanna Powell Colbert. One more shuffle. I told you my favorite numbers, 3, 6, and 13, and I usually do 3 shuffles. Okay, let's see here. I'm gonna do one more because I had a bunch of cards fly out. Okay, I pulled the 9 of Air, which is pomegranate. It says, no love, no grief. Claim your underworld crown. You're the sky. Everything else is the weather. Let go of what you cannot control. Pomegranate is the tree that leads to Demeter's agonizing loss in the Greek myth. Her daughter Persephone consumes the seeds and seals her fate as queen of the underworld. As a hike through the desert will prove, pain is one path to wisdom. When heartache enters your life, do not turn away. In the prophet, Khalil Gibran says, the deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Do not hurry your grief. Pomegranate fruit must be harvested at just the right time. It will not ripen off the tree. You will live through shattering experiences and still stand proud. When you are ready, quench the thirst of guilt, regret, and worry. Invite in forgiveness. So if you want to craft with the 9 of Air, it says, write your grief with a feather in pomegranate juice. You can tear open a pomegranate, enjoy the seeds to claim your underworld crown, or you can drink pomegranate juice to calm the spirit and heal the heart when it is overcome by emotion. All right. So thank you for joining me today. If you'd like to join me on the journey of using the tarot for transformation, There'll be a link in the show notes for that, where we'll be working together for 12 weeks of calls and journaling to discover what happens when we want to transform our lives through the tarot. Links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. And you can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com, with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.